if we're gonna run a pool and a rink and we're gonna run fields, riverfront needs to be city responsibility. Now, SRI can be involved as a participant in using it, but I think the city, personally, I think the city has to be taking that under wing. Otherwise, council will always get frustrated, because we'll have expectations for revenue, and we'll have volunteers and other people who are respected in the community for doing what they're doing, and they're all trying to put events together, but it's really, I mean, they're doing it on their own spare time. You can't count on them, and nor can you fault them for not bringing in the dollar, because it's really not their job. If we have staff here, however, that manage that facility, or we partner with a third party that does it for us, that's right, a professional promoter, venue management company that recognizes, here's the venue, we have stage, we've got riverfront, we have all these things that you can now bring in money from, then I think we're in the right business. But
I honestly, it's a handful for SRI, and I think they're great.
yeah, it's just hard to ask them to do it.
But honestly, I do think our best bet is to go out and get a professional promoter on this. And if they don't make money, we don't make money. So you know they're gonna go out there and make money, because they're gonna wanna come in and make the best bang they can in the city with this.
I mean, we're picking on $34,000 for them, but I mean, the Parks and Recreation budget is $588,000 for this year. Can't we find $34,000 on $588,000?
I don't understand the point that you're saying, but to me, this is a venue,
We're
this
bringing in
is
$283,000
entertainment.
revenue.
This is entertainment that we're looking at down here. This is bringing in people,
We're
more
promoting
than
the
more
city.
park and
This is
recreation,
promoting
more
the
than
city.
baseball fields,
So
baseball.
we're talking about $15,000 at the riverfront.
Yeah,
We didn't settle that yet, did we?
no, I think the $10,000 amount that's in there now, I think, Kevin, you justified in saying that you felt that was comfortable, but really, we could do more. But in order to do more, we have to have human resources,
I think tomorrow morning
manpower.
we should start looking for a third-party promoter. Honestly, I really do think we should do that.
I mean, Jim, how do you feel about
Who
that?
does Lock Havens?
You have the venue under your
Does anybody know what the
responsibility.
cost would be?
Do you know who does Lock Havens? Do you know who does Lock Havens?
Lock Haven has a city manager who does a portion of it.
That's right, then the city does it, right?
Yeah, and then it's in conjunction with some local news organizations, so radio and newspaper. So they have a committee or a board which all meets together, and they choose they go through a list of possible people, they pick them out, and
They
then
have a
promote
formal
them.
downtown, the downtown Lock Haven group is a formal
It's like
downtown
the
development
SRI.
district.
It's like
The
their
difference
SRI.
is that they're organized in such a way that they are able to force dues on their business population in order to do certain things where they have to kind of contribute to that economic development group that's just for downtown.
Who does Harrisburg, that RTI?
That's all city. That's city handles that yourself.
Yeah, do
They have,
do
they
that,
have,
or
what they have is a city development manager, because I was interviewed for that position.
I know the college was involved with it, so I was
The
curious about
university is
it.
involved too.
One of the things that we ran into this year, and Jim, I don't know if you concur or not, but it seemed like we had difficulty with the venue and getting it set up well, the riverfront there, to do a large band event. I mean, I think hiring a firm is a great idea, or partnering with a firm is a great idea, but there were definitely some logistical challenges to it, even for like the Lion Brew Fest, I mean, which I think it can be successful, you know.
Well, you're limited,
increase
you're not gonna put
the size,
10,000 people there, that's right.
no, it's
Yeah, but
thin, it's not very, it's shallow, you know, because you can only work between the wall and the river, which is a challenge.
Yeah, but then on the other side, we have this side of the wall. We get PennDOT. We shut it down from Chestnut Street to Orange Street on a weekend basis that we have to. And then you put the stage there along the wall itself, and then you put vendors down along the river where people are gonna walk down there to get a hot dog, look for arts and craft. And then when the stage come on, you block it off, you charge them to get in, and you make $35 a ticket to see an AC tribute band or something like that. I mean, that's what you do. I mean, that's what we have, that whole thing there. I mean, it's just not that little steps coming down in the little theater there. It's the whole project itself that can be utilized.
Well, going into our next regular scheduled council meeting, knowing that, like you said, you put years worth of effort into getting that, right?
Mhm.
Now it's here, so what can we do with it? The next council meeting, we could put it on the agenda to put a request for information out, no different than a bid request, to the public at large, advertise it that we're looking for a professional, management company to basically come in and put a proposal on the table that says, here's our venues, everything we've got, And we want to basically have someone come in and make a proposal to us as to ways that they could market it, promote it, turn a profit on it, and then put money back into the city at the same time. And get that ball rolling. It may not be in time for us to close out the 2014 budget, but that doesn't mean that if you don't get a good proposal in, like by the end of the first quarter of next year, that you couldn't open it back up.
That's a good idea. We'll do that.
Because once you start bringing that, your downtown's gonna get busier. You're gonna start getting your restaurants, you're gonna start getting your specialty stores, you're gonna start getting all kinds of things down there. And that's what Sunbury needs for us to survive. We don't go to college, so we need this venue on Front Street to work big time to make Sunbury big downtown again.
But the
My
great thing
beliefs-
that you already
my
have,
beliefs.
Jim, to market, I mean, for any company who's gonna attend a meeting, I mean, I could see it being as simple as we have a request for a proposal meeting where they come in. We have all the old drawings, the things that are, we have them on a little tour, they can see exactly what everything is, and then give them a chance to, come back in 2-3 weeks with a proposal. So you've got all that work done, all those drawings, all those materials are all ready for them to start to
It's
use.
a beautiful venue.
SRI has 2 event planners, right? But they're not city event planners. If the promoter doesn't work, would it be possible to maybe hire our own event planner within the city if the promoter thing isn't big enough?
To me, I agree with that, but that's just mine. I think that's the greatest way to go.
Yeah.
That's just, that's what it's.
Even if you do it on a 1-year contract basis, give them a try, see how they work out, or however you do those things, I don't know, but.
The hard part comes back to, your point about manpower. Even with one event planner, that's one event planner. That's one person who organizes an event, but they're not really the ones to actually pull it off. They're then having to count on volunteers again, or city employees to gather together to actually run that thing, whenever you have it. So anything of any size is gonna count on a team of 10, 20, 30 people at least.
And then people get paid too.
That's
I mean,
where,
that's where the promoters are gonna come in and charge enough that these people is gonna come there to watch the gates, to have bouncers or whatever else you need for say. They're gonna be paid, they're gonna have to be paid, because your volunteers aren't out there like they used to be, there's no doubt about it. Unless you're gonna pay somebody 50, 60 bucks a venue, you gotta do it.
personally, I think that if we work with a promoter like that, I think we could probably close $1 million worth of tax increase in this budget, just on the riverfront. We've got 10,000 there now, I don't see why we couldn't have another $50,000 worth of revenue, knowing that you've got such a long period, of potential events that could occur there. If we had the right mechanism in place to keep it going. I mean, every year you bet on a lot of it.
Let's start somewhere. That's what it is.
But at least putting out, I think, a request for proposal, or request for information gets the ball rolling.
Yep. Good idea.
Can I make another comment in regard to that?
Sure.
And that is, Todd, I really liked your point about venues within the city, because there are other venues in the city which would be really good for promotion. Jim and I checked out the ice skating rink, and although it doesn't have a long season where it's not utilized, when it's not utilized, it could be a really great venue and another place that they could hold it.
The Eagles do their.
Yes, sir.
I just want to say, you talk about the venues and how many people you can get in one location or what you can do. There's a place outside Sunbury called Spy House that runs a lot of concerts during the summer. And they do quite well. If you're looking for people, maybe reaching out to them to find out how their operation works and talk to them, give you an idea of what's going on or how to do things. I agree with the event planner or going with a third-party company, or some management company. That's great, because you have a really, really nice place down there at the river. And the problem is it's not being utilized. And the only way you're gonna get it utilized is you gotta bring a professional in to do that, as they do. What do they have out there? They got a winery, that's it. And
The grass field.
And a grass field. And they put 3,000 people out there for a concert.
Right.
That's $75 a pop.
Yes, and they're not doing it for nothing, Spank, they're making money.
Exactly.
That's exactly right. And we should be doing the same thing.
Exactly. Every weekend, or at least once a month, there should be a concert down there of some type, or some type of venue down there where people are buying tickets to go in there and do something. And you'll have the food vendors come in. There are people that's their livelihood when they have these trucks. Gunsy's Hot Sausage out of Milton, all they do is go around to these venues. You got Hawaiian Ice out here back to Sunbury at the ice place, whatever you want to call it. And you got others, you know, there are people, that's all they do all summer long is go around.
They pay a fee to come and do it to make their money.
Right.
So, yeah, I agree with you 100%.
I mean, I'd rather
Losing money.
have a firm business plan that we're following through on in relation to the riverfront. You're gonna have more confidence in that money's gonna come in if you've got the plan, and what we could count on parking your meter money coming in, because that really is a win.
Yeah, because
Never
the
know
following
what you're
year,
gonna
your
do.
next following year, that's gonna be the same weekend, same venue, same thing. I mean,
Once you
that's
get the
a-
loyalty going and you get the
They gotta
traffic.
keep the same weekend.
Yep, you keep
Yeah.
the same weekend mirroring it, and your schedule for next year's already made out.
I got a question.
I just don't think it's
When-
good for this year,
No, we're sort of off track here, I'm sorry.
When, the Elks had, that band, how do they get their money? Do they guarantee a percentage of each ticket that's sold, or,
Company lost it.
they had a band?
Well, I think they
that-
lost.
Else behind there.
I think they actually lost money on that. I don't think
They lost money on that.
I understand that, but how did they get their money?
They had a promoter do it. There was a promoter who did it, and it was just
And they get a
a lot of
percentage.
bad time.
They get a percentage of every ticket that's sold.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah, they'll do it for,
Jim and I had talked about using that skating rink in the summertime, what, almost a year ago, Jim? And about trying to get 3 different bands in there, 3 different types of bands in there in the summer. Has to be, there's work that has to be done, you have to have a sound check on it to make sure it's feasible, or we have to make it feasible. You know, as far as the acoustics and stuff goes. But, and where I think we were conservative, but you could set 2,000 people in that facility, setting chairs up and stuff. And you get a band in and you charge $35, $45 a ticket. Whatever we get back of that, there's no reason why, if we making $10 a ticket and you sell 2,000 tickets, just like they did down here at, they do every time they have a band out at the Homeless War Fire Company. They sell 1,500, 2,000, that's $20-some thousand on one event. That's not counting what you're gonna make off of, concessions.
But you still have a lot of security issues, you're gonna pay a lot out too,
But
but I agree with it. I agree with it.
doesn't the promoter provide the security with that?
I would say they would supply everything, but I say we got.
Getting back to
Yeah, let's
Joe's
go back to
point
that.
on the budget, I mean, what's it really gonna mean for this coming year? Best case scenario is that we get requests for information in, right, let's say by the end of January. You could probably mandate that as part of the proposal process, venue needs to be managed and events starting, let's say in July. That's probably reasonable, that you'd have events starting in July where they could actually have time to get organized, get events planned, promoted, marketed, to where July through maybe October, you could actually have things scheduled. So I think the potential is at least there that if we're gonna move forward and look at that as an option, we could probably safely put $5,000 back into that, and not be any worse off.
I
Here, I think at least we have the potential of doing better, but at least minimally, if we say, look, starting in July through October, we'd like to see $15,000 come out of events between those months. For this coming budget year, I think that's realistic. So if it's all right, I'm gonna put 5 back in there until you hear otherwise. All right. So I guess kind of hold off, I think, on any other revenue items unless anything comes up as we're talking through expenses here and anybody has another brainstorm. But obviously, each year our biggest expenses, Dave, fall under your department. So I guess we might as well start with the big guy when it comes to expenses between you and the chief. Is there any wiggle room? Minimally, it'd be nice to, at least going into our next session, I mean, we're about halfway there. It'd be nice to eliminate a mill. And based on just tonight's adjustments to revenue, we've got close to right about 30. Or are you just not seeing any reductions?
The issue I'm having is this year we had a police shooting and somebody tried killing our guys, and I've got a dead body. I'm not trying to belabor the point of it, what I see as a professional, not arguing with Jim on the aspects of the money part of it is, this department's been undermanned for the better part of 8 years. We're still suffering from decisions made long before you guys came in, where our drug detectives were eliminated, our crime detectives were eliminated. All that has had a long-term effect over the course of years, and I understand you have to pay what you can afford for it, but what kind of town do we want to live in? You know, that's something I'm looking at, that we've already done more with less. We've already pushed our guys well past the points. With the exception of 1 or 2 people that are underperformers, and we're working on that. All the rest of them perform very well, they perform above their limits. 12 guys, 13 guys is not gonna do the work of 18. And that's something that's coming home to roost. I think Bill Siegel always says it when he schmoozes you guys, but you're a forward-looking council. You have to decide what kind of town you wanna live in. That's up to you. Most of what I put in there is stuff that we need to operate. If it's cut, we will operate at less. There'll be less coverage, and there'll be less that we can do.
We did have 2 cars, and we already cut one of them out. We have looked at this already.
And I guess the difficulty, right, that any municipality faces is exactly what the chief has to say, is what type of town do you want to live in? And ultimately, what type of town that can the town afford, right? And we're to the point where with this budget, with the forecasted first reading 2 mil tax increase, we're at the cap. Can't go any higher, right, without making adjustments, and we've got a petition for that. Or we've got to make major operational changes, right? And then you're taking a look at things like your authorities, your municipal authorities, other things that you may have to consider consolidation. You may have to figure out different ways of operating as a city in order to actually get the budget in line, to be able to afford to do some of the things you're talking about. And even then, you're still pushing the buck, right? Because you may even consolidate, but then if you say, well, in order for us to get some of the things we need for police, now that we've consolidated, that means we've got to raise our sewer rates. Well, people in the street are still paying for it, right?
Call something different.
One of the things I was gonna bring up is, in 2008, when the housing industry went out, I was at the company that went out of business, and as they were phasing out and trying to reduce expenses, the first places they looked were, the cleaning services were cut out. It was the employees were emptying their own garbage cans because that was where they could make up some funds without affecting service, the services they provide to people. Those are the kind of places where you can cut without affecting the lives of the people. Where if the employees are emptying their own garbage cans or running the sweeper once a week themselves, we can eliminate a huge expense under janitorial services. There's almost probably a $500,000 right there in janitorial services.
Well, you can't get rid of the janitorial services in this floor. I don't know what it does. What does it amount to downstairs, just in our offices?
I would think.
Because that's part of the contract.
But your point is, well,
it's $15,000 for Careerling's janitorial services.
And they pay that, that's in the agreement, that's in the lease, they pay that. But so what's the total? So is it another 15 for just us? Is it 30 total, or
That's
that's
probably under the building.
Well, that's what you were looking at.
Categories.
Yeah, the 15,000 for them is in the agreement with
And that was
Careerling to be up here.
redone yearly, right? That was up to be redone yearly.
Yeah, it was a 3 year to start with, and then we just okayed the 1 more year, yeah.
So we can renegotiate that out of it? Or did you just do it up to?
We extended it to, I checked with Tara, I think we did it for next year, we had to do it by,
that was part of their request for proposal, if I'm not mistaken. They had to have that included as part of their request.
and they only did it 1 year at a time, which I don't like.
What was it under? Just in the building here.
I mean, to Joe's point, if you want to continue to do the best we can to provide salary increases, there does have to be give and take in certain areas where there's discretionary spending, and 15,000 here and there in terms of cleaning expenses. We can ask people to Run the vacuum once a week.
13,000 in janitorial supplies for services for the first floor of the police station, or does that just include this building?
Which line item are you looking at here?
It would be 409,226.
Yeah, the general janitorial services we have, it was 12,000 budgeted, 13,000 is what's in there now for this year. That is janitorial services as a whole. That
Somehow
excludes
comes
the
with the
money
police
for.
department chief.
Yes.
And I
That
think
excludes
that's
the
included,
career.
I think that's included in
That's
both them.
independent.
Right.
The police department.
So 409,226.
I don't know how much you can cut out of it.
Because that's,
Well, it's real easy. You want cops cleaning the police department?
No, that's what I'm saying. You can't just eliminate it.
right, you
It's
can't
something
cut it
you have
off.
to do.
Yeah, there's no way you can cut
That's
it
what I
off.
mean.
Well, I mean, what do they clean for that? I mean,
Chief?
I know the code office, it was like the garbage can and vacuum, that was about what they
They
did.
do our garbage cans, but more important than that, they probably clean the toilets. They also mop the floors, they vacuum everything.
Yeah, we mop, the floors are always being done downstairs every night.
Do we have a maintenance crew or don't we?
They would
We have
want-
maintenance people, no?
To do that, no.
What do they do, the maintenance people, they just,
What maintenance people?
We
I'm
got
just
total,
asking if we have any maintenance people.
we have 8 full-time employees in the city of Sunbury that runs the street and recreation department.
Well,
8 full-timers.
the ones that empty the garbage around town, they're not maintenance people, they're,
They're full-time, yeah, there's one of the 8 people who does that, yeah.
I see them dragging bags out of the city hall too, so they must be emptying garbage here too. I don't know,
Not too often, the bags out of here, they don't. If they're hauling something out there, or something out of the basement, they need to move someplace else. But it wouldn't be garbage coming out of here.
every morning, whatever. So, I guess you know where to cut them than that, I guess. Nobody can empty their own garbage.
We don't pay $13,000 just to empty garbage cans.
But I guess what is gonna get, we knew this last year, right? We knew it was gonna get harder this year than what it was last year. Yeah, so we're to the point where we have to feel we're comfortable with the tax increase or aren't we? And if we aren't, we have to figure out a way to adjust it. And that is getting into discretionary items that in the past maybe were kind of borderline, that we held on to them. This year, if we're not gonna do a tax increase, we've gotta get rid of them.
Hey, Todd, can I make a suggestion before you? I think we got about as much of revenue as we possibly can. I mean, what we're gonna get out of the way out next year. I think that each and one of us should, stop sitting here trying to beat an argument on it. Why don't we all go home together and take a look at the permits?
And I don't think honestly it's arguing. I don't
I
see
mean, it's,
any of
it's healthy,
it.
but still, you know, we can sit here, we can nickel a dime here, but,
But that is the process we have to go through. I guess it's, to me, it's more a matter of coming to terms with our departments. Some departments we know, we just don't have a ton of wiggle room, right? Because you're stuck with non-discretionary spending requirements that you can't cut your health insurance, you can't cut your business insurance.
What it went up in each department like mine, it went up, quarter wage and, you know, your insurance rates is where it went.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
And that's not a lot. You know, I mean, a quarter per hour per person is not a lot.
And I guess everything that I have in here for new officers has already been taken out, right?
It's gone.
It looks like it doesn't include new officers.
The only thing I think that we wanted to make sure was in here that I don't, because you mentioned this for your department, and I want to make sure that it was in here. New radio gear as a result of the county upgrade. Do you have that budgeted?
No. Chief Kreiner from Norrie is applying to vacancy on behalf of all the police chiefs in the county. And I have talked to a private foundation as a backup, depending on our funding source. Hopefully it'll be Degenstein, if not, there's an alternative foundation that offered to assist us. That's not it.
That's only specific to the police department. That excludes our fire department.
The fire department's gonna be coming over, it's already in the budget, the county put in to buy each one, 2 radios per department.
But
Correct me if I'm wrong on that.
that is correct, but that would be
Correct.
insufficient.
And
no
also,
better. I find it out.
they got a grant out for the county, have a countywide grant out right now that's gonna apply,
Well,
provide
it's
EAM.
not out yet, but they're working on it.
They're working on it,
Yeah,
correct?
it's called AFG grant.
Thank you, Stan.
Assistant Firefighters Grant, federal grant.
I mean, as of February, the old radios won't work, is that's what I've been.
No.
No, not exactly. What we finally got out of the county after several months is that once the system was up and running, which is June 30th, 2014, we had 90 days.
Okay.
Well, we were also warned by their consultant to not look at buying anything until the system is completely up, because they can't guarantee us that our tests prior to that time will actually function.
Right.
Okay.
Not only that, but there's no guarantee it's gonna be June 30th.
I'm good with that, Spike. Later's better.
However,
So I guess that would be, my only question was whether or not we needed to add another expense for fire and police specific to the county radio upgrade. If we do,
my recommendation.
sounds like right now you're counting on foundation money to cover it all.
Yes.
My recommendation would be for fire. If you're gonna do something, I'd do it for police. Fire department, yeah, and I'm not speaking on behalf of the fire department, so let's be clear about that. But they do have money called Relief Association dollars.
Come on, Stan, step up to the plate.
Well, no, I'm not an officer in the department, so I can't really speak for them, but they do have those dollars available to them. However, if we do get the grant, we're using a professional grant writer to do this, that has been successful in the past, very successful. If we do get that, it's gonna be a countywide, grant, and it's gonna take care of each of the departments in the county. So hopefully that'll go through, hopefully that'll work. The grant just opened, they're in the process of doing it now. So. Here's a question for you, and I don't know if you can do this or not. The Buffalo Valley Regional Police Force is in the process of doing this right now in negotiations with Bucknell University. Would you be able to patrol municipal property and maintain surveillance on municipal property through the authority, and then have them, and then bill them for police protection?
We've tried that out in this bank.
Yeah, it's not like, what municipal property would you patrol?
Well, you got the water company out there, and you also have the complex, the sewer complex down here. And the dike.
Only trouble is right now, Stan, they're looking to raise our water and sewer rates as it stands right now, number one.
Well, they're gonna raise them whether you do that or not.
Oh, this is true. What I'm getting at, there's no money for them to give to us.
Well, just as you said, for each ticket that's sold at a venue, you get $5. They could also put a charge on there for police protection for their properties.
Jimmy, how'd they do that? It was like 6-7 years ago when they did that. It was like $60,000. I don't know what the precept was on that.
They just wrote a donation. They just pretty much
Okay, yeah, I wasn't
donated
sure
to the
if it
city of Sunbury. That's when they
Something
found
about,
out.
I think that's the venue that, or the precept they used was, you need to watch our buildings and.
See what happened. They gave us $200,000 total in the last 14
Right.
years, okay? Somewhere along, I'm not sure where it was, somewhere in the state of Pennsylvania, somebody took them to court. The municipal authority gave money towards a monument.
I think it was State College.
I don't know, Steve. Anyhow, they built a monument for veterans, okay? They
Right.
took money out of the municipal authority and gave it over here. They went to court, and the court ruling was that you collected for a fee of services over here, you can't be donating over here, which had nothing to do with the services that you provide. That's what happened.
But if you did look at that, is it a possibility to do that?
I don't think you have the votes on the authority for them to vote to give us money, let's put it that way.
Right.
That's my personal feel. But I know they just get hit with a tax, not a tax increase, get hit with an increase in their health care. They get hit hard on health care. Matter of fact, they just took their health care from 7% employee contribution to 14.
Well, what do you think is gonna happen with healthcare?
Obama's gonna save us.
Right.
We're all gonna get free healthcare. What I think we can safely say when it comes to the budget is, the city's gonna be either at its max on millage this year, or it's gonna be next year. It's unavoidable that we're gonna hit our max within the next 2 to 3 years. because we just can't keep up with ongoing costs in our major expense categories and our big departments. You know, the chief's pulling certain expenses that you just, doesn't make sense to cut. You can't keep cutting, otherwise you're gonna see ramifications for it down the road. So I guess, you know, if we wanna end tonight's meeting, that's okay, but I guess just for us reconvening, we are gonna have to sit down and really start to work on that long-term financial plan to adjust how we operate to accommodate that ever increasingly, you know, quick adjustment we're gonna see here on 2 mills, because we can't avoid it. You know, it's nice to keep pushing it off, but the only way you're gonna completely eliminate the need for it is to do some major overhaul in operations.
Well, there's one thing, Todd, there's price of doing business as county government, or as a local government. Nothing's free. I know all my years in the school district, when I was on the board, we never reduced the budget. Every year, there was an increase in the budget, whether it was a mill or 2 mil, it was never flat line. And there's a reason for that. You know, you're dependent on personnel. You know, that's your biggest cost, personnel. And then you got maintenance. But there are so many fixed costs that to reduce fixed costs reduces, you know, your overall operations and puts things in jeopardy. You can't not put off putting a roof on a local, you know, city facility. You can't not fix something with the ice skating rink, you know, with the understanding that you're gonna Band-Aid it, and then, you know, when something bad happens, you can't bring the revenue in there. I mean, the price of doing business is, to live in a community is, there's a cost. And whether it's police, you know, you're very fortunate, and those days are getting very short, and I don't want to get on a soapbox about this, but you're very fortunate, and the days are getting closer and closer with fire protection. You know, volunteers going away. And you gotta start planning for this. You gotta start thinking about what you're gonna do. Lewisburg's already done it. Lewisburg gone to a paid department up there. You know, and they understand. They used to depend on Bucknell University students to man their equipment, especially during the school year. And it's just not there anymore. They don't have it. Look at our fire departments. You don't have the manpower, and you gotta start thinking about that. You know, there's a cost of living in a community, and everybody has to assume that.
And I agree with you, Joe, and because to me, it's all about the quality of life, and it is services that everybody, not just in this room, but in the city of Sunbury, expect and deserve to have. So to me, it's just like I'd love to have 3 more police officers, but I realize this isn't gonna happen. But now when we start talking about I wanna get rid of any of them, that's for darn sure, I'll fight to the bitter end on that. But you gotta do what you have to in there. But you're right, once you get to the point where eliminating the services or eliminating the quality of life, then that's when you gotta talk about taxes.
Sometimes you gotta make
Nobody wants taxes, but you can't go forever without having that, for sure.
Right.
But I'm encouraged with, I gotta say, I'm encouraged with what Kevin said, because clearly that's an issue. I can remember for a lot of years, Ed Neff would walk in here, we were $800,000 away from balancing a budget, and we used to actually figure revenue on collection of 60%, figuring that 40% of the people in this community didn't pay any taxes. And I don't know where that's actually at now, that's 20 years ago, don't get me wrong, but I'm sure, there's no question in my mind, there's 10–15% out there that we're not getting a dime off of.
Shouldn't our treasurer be able to tell us, or give us an idea?
That's
Well, we
what
often
I-
talked about the
that's what
list of
I
every
said.
house in the city of Sunbury and what them came out of, and I don't know that that was ever done.
We do well. We do a lot better